So today I am going to talk to you about your gut health. I'm hearing more and more people that are aware of their gut health and what that means and how that affects you and the rest of and your body and your total overall well-being. So I thought it would be a great idea. We've talked about it before, but for me to revisit your gut health and explain how incredibly important your gut is to your overall health. Well, do you know that our gut is considered our second brain? Yes, your gastrointestinal tract is considered your second brain. And what is the gastrointestinal tract? Well, it starts with your mouth, ends with your rectum, and you have anywhere from 30 to 50 feet of intestine all rolled up inside your abdomen, right? And so your gastrointestinal system is your stomach, it's your gallbladder, it's your liver, it's your appendix, right? There's different organs associated with the gastrointestinal tract, but it's so incredibly important to our health that it basically is the center of our health. It determines how healthy we are, from the our immune system to our mental health, to so many different aspects of what's going on with our body. That's why we call it the second brain. Actually, I think it should be called the first brain. Why? Because during the development of an embryo, the very first organ system to develop is the gut, the gastrointestinal system. It actually starts developing an entire week before your central nervous system, an entire week before your brain and your spinal cord. So it's the first organ system to develop in a developing embryo. And then the brain and spinal cord shows up, and then all the rest of the organs. Isn't that amazing? So it kind of sort of might be considered the first brain. And when someone passes on, the electrical activity will cease in the brain and the spinal cord. But do you know it continues for a little while in the gut? Yes. So it's the first to come and the last to leave. That's how important our gastrointestinal system is. So, as I talk about your gut, I am mainly referring to your intestines. So, let's talk a little bit about how doggone important that is and what and how it affects our health, because if you have poor gut health, it affects your whole body, from your ability to lose weight, your mental health, your mood, your energy level, your brain fog, digestion, um, even sexual health is impacted, and joint pain, autoimmune conditions. There's so many different diseases and conditions that result from poor gut health. And that's why it's very important for us to understand and appreciate a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet, and why that is so important. Not that you can't enjoy, an occasional whatever you enjoy, whether it's chocolate or a piece of, candy, or, French fries, hamburger, of course, pizza. You have to enjoy life. You have to enjoy your foods, but your overall diet, your overall lifestyle needs to be one where you are really trying to have a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. And then when you have those moments where you have your so-called cheat day, you don't feel so guilty because you've done so well and you deserve that hamburger, french fries, ice cream, whatever it is that you want to have, right? So, again, this is not about punishing yourself and not enjoying life. It's about understanding that there needs to be a healthy balance. So, with that being said, why are the intestines so important? Well, let's talk about your microbiome, or your gut microbiome. Let's talk about that, because your microbiome determines how healthy the rest of your body is going to be and how healthy your gut balance is. Your gut flora the microbiome, there are different names for it. You've heard of good versus bad bacteria and all of that. There's always different names for it, but it's so, so very important to understand why that's so important. Why? Because the bacteria in your gut produces hormones, produces proteins, digests your foods. I mean, it's so integral to almost every other function of your body. It either directly or indirectly affects every aspect of your health. I'm going to say that again. Your gut, your bacterial microbiome, your flora, your gut balance either directly or indirectly affects every aspect of your health and your ability to become healthier, fight off diseases, get off medications, lose weight. I mean, everything is dependent upon that gut health. So when you don't have a healthy gut or a healthy microbiome, gut flora, you will suffer. You can try every sort of supplement there is known to man. You can buy all sorts of whatever you see on TV. I spoke to a lady earlier this morning, and she was telling me that she was purchasing all sorts of things off the internet and whatever she thought she saw that would help her get healthier, and nothing really worked. And she couldn't understand why. Well, a big part of that is because all of those fancy, expensive things that you're buying, if your gut is not healthy, one, you can't absorb it. So you're pooping most of it out. Okay, that's one thing. And the other, you can't get the benefits from whatever it is that you're supposed to do because the areas where absorption occurs are not healthy. Okay. So, or it could be the product. It sounds good on paper, but it's not the best quality. So, it's so important to understand that if you're going to get healthy, you've got to look at first getting your gut as healthy as you possibly can. You've got to get that gut balance where it needs to be. Okay. So, when we talk about the microbiome or your gut flora, it's so important to understand that you really have over 200 million different forms of bacteria, viruses, fungi, just a mixture of certain um, elements and certain bacteria, viruses, fungi, all of it mixed together, over 200 million different ones. And the more variety you have, the healthier you are. I'm going to say that again. The more variety of bacteria and viruses and different things all mixed up in your gut flora, the more variety you have, the healthier you are. I know you're probably thinking viruses, mold, fungi, what the heck? Here's the deal. There are some that are beneficial to your health and some that aren't. There are some that are harmful and some that aren't. So yes, there needs to be a mixture. There needs to be variety. And a healthy gut has over 200 million different types of colonies of bacteria and viruses and mold and different species in the digestive tract. So the more variety, the healthier. So you need to have a good balance of good versus bad. Okay. And we're kind of getting away from that good versus bad because even some of the ones that um, are considered one or the other sometimes has benefit fighting off other harmful germs that you may come in contact with. Okay. So you need to have a healthy bacteria, a healthy balance in your gut flora. It needs to be a large variety of different types of bacteria and viruses and fungi, different species, because the more variety, the healthier you are. Okay. The other thing that's so important is that having a large variety of the different bacterial species in our gut helps our bodies helps reduce the incidence of disease. Diseases like diabetes, diseases like arthritis, like inflammatory bowel disorders like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Those are inflammatory bowel disorders. So the more species of bacteria you have, the larger the variety, the less likely you are to develop some of those diseases. And yes, I said diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Okay. So how does your gut flora affect your health? It's such a incredible complexity in our gut, so important for our overall health. And we know that there are links between poor gut health and other diseases. So what are some of those diseases? If you have poor gut health, and I'm going to talk about symptoms of poor gut health as well, and we'll talk about what you need to do to help it get better. Okay. So there is a link. Research has shown that there's a direct link between poor gut health and certain diseases. What are they? Autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune. What's autoimmune? Fibromyalgia, thyroid diseases, lupus, sarcoidosis, mixed connective tissues diseases, psoriatic arthritis, psoriasis. I mean, it goes, even type 1 diabetes, we now know is autoimmune. The list of autoimmune, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. I mean, there are so many different autoimmune conditions now. There used to be, when I was in medical school a long time ago, we used to have not more than maybe 15 to 20 autoimmune conditions. Now there's well over 100. Well over 100 different autoimmune diseases. Yes. And that is simply because our bodies are so messed up, and for the lack of a better term, there's no term better to say that. I can't think of a medical term to explain it because it is what it is. We have wreaked so much havoc on our bodies over the years, whether it's poor diet, poor lifestyle, who knows? But when you have a poor gut balance, gut health, you are more prone to all sorts of conditions. So, autoimmune, a weakened immune system, a weakened immune system. What happens? You catch colds a lot, or you're more prone to things like COVID or other flus or different things, or you can have a lot of sinus, lots of sinus, always sinus problems. That is sometimes not so much a sign of allergy, but a sign that your immune system can't fight off the factors that constantly keep you congested and inflamed. Okay. Um, Endocrine disorders such as diabetes, that happens. Gastrointestinal disorders, again, gastritis, colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's colitis, irritable bowel disease, even cardiovascular disease is increased when your gut health is not where it should be. And here's the big one: when you have poor gut health, you are more prone to developing cancer. Yes, indeed. You are more prone to developing cancer when you have poor gut health. So those are just a few of the conditions that are directly related to poor gut health. But remember, autoimmune is huge because we're seeing more and more and more and more people with autoimmune conditions every single day. It is really something to see. So it's important that you have a healthy gut. So what are the symptoms? What are the signs and symptoms of an unhealthy gut? I'm going to get into that during the next segment, but I definitely want you to digest, quote unquote, right? Play on words a little bit. I want you to digest um what I just said, because poor gut health is directly related or indirectly related to everything that I mentioned here, from increasing your risk of cardiovascular disease, a weakened immune system. Oh, the other thing that I didn't mention was mental health. when you have poor gut health, it affects your mood. It affects your mood. You're more prone to depression and anxiety, moodiness, irritability, sadness, low motivation, even low libido. So poor gut health affects all of that. So in the next segment, I'm going to talk about what is what are some of the signs and symptoms of poor gut health and how that affects you. Because if you don't get your hands wrapped around your gut health, you are going to have more and more problems. And the biggie, the one that's the most troublesome, of course, is cancer. It's cancer. So it's so important to understand that the worse your gut health is, the more likely you are to develop cancer, because it's more likely that you're going to succumb to some of the changes that occur when cancerous cells or cancerous toxins or cancerous whatever it is has entered your system. Okay. And so we want you to digest this information, and it's so important for you to understand why your poor gut health has affected you. So, again, remember, your gut is your second brain. I think it should be your first. And during the development of an embryo, the gastrointestinal system develops a week before the brain, 1 week before the central nervous system. So, your gut has everything to do with affecting the rest of your body. So I'm talking about gut health during this show, and I want you to understand how important your gut is to the health or the rest of your body being able to be as healthy as it can. And I know I've talked about this in so many different ways in the other segments, because you can't get healthier without addressing the gut health. But I thought that this would be really, really, really important to spend time going back over why your gut health is so integral to the rest of the your body, and how it's really directly or indirectly affecting how healthy the rest of you can be. So many people come to me and they say, I've tried different supplements. I've tried this, I've tried that. I see this on TV. It looks like it's going to help me. I even see gut health stuff on TV, and I get that. And they take it and they say, but something didn't work. It just didn't help me like I thought it would. And that's because there's so many factors involved in helping your gut become healthy and staying that way, that if you grab something off the shelf without understanding what you're doing, it will absolutely um you might feel some improvement, but I'm not surprised when people tell me they really didn't get the outcomes that they thought they would. It's so complicated. Although I do make a point of trying to simplify it as much as I can, but it's a complex topic. It really is. So I want to talk about the 7 signs of an unhealthy gut. What is going on with an unhealthy gut? And so, how do you know if you have an unhealthy gut, right? Well, if you are emotionally stressed all the time, or a lot, and who isn't these days? This is a very stressful time. I mean, we've got so much going on all over the world, and so many people have loved ones that they're worried about all over the world. And my goodness, definitely here in the United States, that um, who isn't stressed these days, right? And now we got the holidays coming, so we have holiday stress and so many different things like that. So it's a very, very, very stressful time of the year, and these are some stressful days. And with that being said, it affects your gut. Let me just explain something to you. Think about what happens when you have a stressful day and you get a headache. Okay? You get a headache, your head hurts. Oh my God, you had a bad day, stressful day, and now you've got these pounding headaches. Well, that's an emotional feeling that has caused a physical response. It's an emotional feeling Bad day, emotional, bad day, the boss, the co-workers, the kids, the spouse, whatever it is. But that emotional thought has caused a physical effect. Throbbing headaches, the muscles spasming in your scalp causing headaches, or your the tiny muscle layer in your blood vessels causing headaches. Whatever it is, it's an emotional thought causing a physical change. What makes you think that doesn't happen in the gut wall? No, I'm not saying you're having spasms there like you do when you get a headache. But what happens is that you get inflammation. So the same sort of emotional stress causes a physical change in your gut wall. And that physical change brings about inflammation. So if I could have the slide of what a gut wall looks like that is damaged because of emotional stress. I'll give you a couple minutes to be perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Caleb. So this right here, yes, it is a slide of leaky gut, but it's an awesome, awesome depiction of what happens when you have stress, emotional stress affecting your gut health. So you see on the side closest to me, they look nice and pink and, evenly shaped cells. This is a cross section of the cells of your gut wall and how and at the bottom of that, you see that reddish bar with the tiny little particles in it. That's a blood vessel. That's an artery. And then on top of those cells, you see those different little pill-shaped objects. Those are bacteria. The little round ones are probably viruses or food particles, whatever it is you put in your mouth. That's what's on the top there. Then you have the then you have the cell wall of your gut. This is your gut. And then you have the artery underneath. And you see the little particles in the artery. So what I'm showing you here is the cells that are closest to me, the nice evenly shaped pink ones with the little red nucleus in the middle of each cell. Those are nice, normal, healthy cells. That's a normal, healthy gut wall. But next to them are those red, angry, misshapen, odd looking cells. They're gut wall cells, but it's obvious that they're not happy. It's obvious that they're a little swollen, they're red, they're inflamed. And guess what? They're no longer nice and next to each other, they're separated. The inflammation causes separation that leads to the leaky gut. So, this is what happens with emotional stress. This is what happens with a lot of types of different stress. But right now, I'm talking about the emotional stress. Emotional stress causing a physical change in your gut wall. This is what it looks like. And when those cells become red and inflamed like that, they separate, they form gaps between them. And all those tiny little particles at the top, those little round ones, the pill shaped ones, the little green and blue ones, and I think there's some white ones up there. Those are particles that should be eliminated out. They're harmful. And guess what happens? They seep right between those little gaps right into your bloodstream. Now you wonder how people develop cancer and develop other diseases. When you've got toxins and toxic materials and bad germs and all sorts of things seeping through directly into your bloodstream because of the gaps that have formed in those cells, of course you're not going to be healthy. Of course you're not going to feel right. And it may just be low energy or brain fog or just feeling out of sorts. Something's wrong and you know it. Can't figure out what it is. Or maybe you're irritable all the time. Or maybe you're getting headaches. You could get headaches from this as well. But my point is, it's the emotional thought causing physical change. Okay? Just like with a headache. Bad day, bad emotional day, causing a headache by the end of the day causes your gut to do just what this picture shows. Okay? What are some of the other things that can cause this picture to develop as well, or the cells to become red and inflamed and form gaps? Not enough rest, not enough sleep, insomnia. And insomnia comes in a lot of different ways. You could have trouble falling asleep, or you could fall asleep and then wake up and have trouble going back to sleep. So you're laying there with your eyes open and the clock is ticking, and you've got 2 hours of doing that, 3 hours of doing that, 4 hours of doing that, and now you're an hour away from having to get up and get ready for work. Well, you haven't had a restful night. That it will do this same sort of problems with inflammation in the gut wall, not enough sleep. The other thing is eating a Western diet with processed food, a poor diet, high fat, low fiber, fried foods, processed foods, fast foods. You know it. Too much sugar, too much dairy, you name it. You name it. An unhealthy diet. And you know who you are. You know if that fits for you. It will do this too. Okay? All of these things lead to leaky gut. All of them do. So it will do this too. The next one, of course, taking too many antibiotics. Yep. It's okay if you need an antibiotic for 10 days or 7 days or 2 weeks even. It's okay. Antibiotics are a good thing. I am not anti-prescription at all. And if I diagnose intestinal worms, I'm going to suggest a prescription. I could definitely give you a natural remedy and it'll take 2 to 3 months to go away. But I think if I had worms in my gut, I want to get rid of them right away. And I'd probably go with a prescription for that. And I would recommend give you the option, but certainly suggest that as well. So there's nothing wrong with prescriptions as long as we don't overdo them. There's nothing wrong with antibiotics. You get an infection, you need an antibiotic. You may, your body may be able to heal itself, and most of the times it will. Most of the times you don't need an antibiotic, especially if it's a viral infection. Antibiotics don't work for viruses. They only work for bacteria. However, overusing antibiotics, constantly on an antibiotic, overdoing antibiotics, always having it will erode your gut wall. This picture right here, it will definitely cause those red inflamed cells, because what it does is it destroys the good bacteria, destroys the good microbiome. It many times kills off the bacterial balance that you need. And when that happens, it stresses your gut, and you can lead to this same outcome. Okay. um Having being overweight can do that. Any sort of other diseases can do this. So I just want you to understand that there's so many different things that can cause this picture. That it just is staring at a computer screen for too many hours in a day. For those of you that you have to, right? It's your job. But remember, when you're staring at a computer screen for too many hours in a day, it stresses the retina, which sends a stress reaction, and it causes this same sort of picture to develop. Okay. um a lack of exercise or the wrong exercises, foods that you're sensitive to, food sensitivities will do this. All right. And I talk about food sensitivities all the time because they are a hidden stressor. Because foods that you're sensitive to may be foods that you think are healthy, like lettuce and tomatoes, or blueberries, or I'm just making things up, because foods that you're sensitive to are different from the foods that your spouse or your children may be sensitive to. And you may be sensitive to kale or spinach, and they may be sensitive to black pepper, but not sensitive to the other things. And foods that you're sensitive to destroy the gut wall. They actually cause your immune system to attack your gut wall, leading to inflammation in this sort of picture as well. Okay. So great. Thank you. We've got the slide back up because this is where I left off. And I want you to know, what are some of the symptoms of an unhealthy gut. We've talked about how important the gut health is. We've talked about some of the things that can destroy your gut health or impact it in a negative way. So let's talk about some of the symptoms. What are some of the symptoms that you can get from an unhealthy gut? And you'd be surprised. It's not always what you think. It's not necessarily bloating and gas, although we're going to start there because that definitely is one of them. But there's so many other signs and symptoms of this phenomenon going on in your body, and it's hard for you to put your finger on it because, with all due respect to my colleagues, my traditional medicine does not really recognize and focus on this phenomenon as much as it should. I really believe it's going to happen. It's coming. They can't ignore it. The research is there. It's definitely been proven in research, and it's going to have to be accepted in traditional medicine. I just hope it's sooner than later because there's a whole lot of people that are not being treated or taken care of properly simply because we in Western medicine don't accept some of the research around intestinal hyperpermeability or leaky gut, which comes from the inflammation and the cells separating the way they do. So let's talk about what are some of the signs and symptoms of an unhealthy gut. And gas. How about foul smelling gas? Um, Really foul smelling gas, foul smelling stools, bloating, indigestion, extra acid production in your stomach, um, always just, heartburn, burping, belching, even diarrhea and constipation, right? Diarrhea and constipation. Those are all clear signs and symptoms of issues with your gut health. And some of you have that really, 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 really badly. I talk to people all the time that may have a bowel movement once or twice a week. So that means what you're eating today is decaying and is decaying for days and days and days. Well, no wonder your cell wall definitely is going to start to look like those red cells that are angry and inflamed and are separating, right? You've got you've got issues where your gut health is directly impacting what's happening to your cell wall when you're constipated like that. And then what's happening with diarrhea? You're pushing the food through so fast you can't even absorb the vitamins and nutrients from it, right? So that's a problem. You get into malabsorption and all sorts of syndromes from that. So either one of those. And then when we talk about gas and bloating and heartburn and extra production of acid in our stomach, a lot of that's happening every single day to some people. It's because your stomach recognizes what's happening lower in the intestinal area, whether it's the small bowel or the large bowel, and it recognizes that the digestive process is not happening the way it should. And as a result of that, you're going to get symptoms and problems in your stomach. So everything's connected. One area knows what the other area is doing, and it depends on each other. Okay. They depend. Stomach depends on the intestines, small intestine, large intestine. Everything works in concert. It's made that way. And when one area is not functioning like it should, it affects all of it. Okay. So those are one of the issues. One other thing about, your gut health is those of you that like crave sugar, and you know who you are, eat a lot of sugar, basically you're directly causing inflammation in your gut wall. So look at the picture with the red inflamed irregularly shaped misshapen cells with stuff seeping between them. Those are particles of bacteria and toxins and cancerous substances and everything right into your bloodstream. When you eat sugar, excessive amounts of sugar, this is what's happening to your gut. Okay, very important to understand that. You can have unintentional weight problems. You can have weight gain as a result of this because of insulin resistance that may be happening, and increased inflammation throughout your whole body. Because when your gut wall looks like the inflamed cells and things are seeping through into your bloodstream, you get inflammation throughout your whole body. So you start having increased inflammation in so many different ways all over your body. And You can also have insulin resistance. And so, as a result of that, you'll have weight gain and can't even figure out why you're gaining weight. It's like, I'm not eating poorly. I have a really healthy diet, I think. I'm eating the way I'm trying to eat organically. I'm trying to do things right, and I'm still gaining weight. And you can't figure it out. You look at food, you breathe on it, and you gain 5 pounds. I mean, I hear women. I mean, I'm being a little, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but for some women, it actually feels that way without even trying. In fact, the more they try, the more weight they gain. And that is so frustrating. And that's because this phenomenon is occurring and it causes other hormonal imbalances. And I am not talking about estrogen. Please, I am not referring to that when I say hormonal imbalance. So many other hormones. And when they are thrown off, you can gain weight. Okay. Sleep disturbances. I mentioned that this can cause insomnia, but fatigue, constantly being tired. How many ladies out there are just tired all the time and they don't know why? And you've gone to your doctor, they've done all sorts of tests. They tell you that everything's normal. They check your thyroid, which usually is not checked thoroughly like it should be, but they tell you all that is normal and you're tired as heck. Your iron level isn't necessarily low. They can't figure it out and they tell you, oh, just get some rest. Oh, it's menopause. Man, we blame everything on menopause. But and it's not. It's your gut. And it's what your gut is causing in other areas of your body. It's how it's bringing about other imbalances. And that is 100% why you will have issues coming from your inflammation in your gut wall looking like this. Okay, this is an unhealthy gut. How about rashes, unexplained rashes, skin irritation? Skin irritation is a biggie. Getting rashes and you can't figure out why. It's not that you're not eating foods you're allergic to, but you get these skin rashes. Or what if you already have a condition like psoriasis or eczema or something like that, where you break out and have these flare ups all the time and you can't figure out why? Well, it most likely is, you can tie that back to a poor gut health, but also you've got to look at foods that you're sensitive to and how they promote a poor gut health as well. So there's so many different layers and different things that we have to look at when I am evaluating you. But skin rashes, yes, that is really a big issue. Autoimmune conditions, that's another sign of poor gut health. We now know there are many studies that have found that there is a direct link between poor gut health and the development of an autoimmune condition. Poor gut health and the development of an autoimmune condition. What are autoimmune? Lupus, sarcoidosis, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 and type 2 diabetes now are considered autoimmune. Type 2 can be autoimmune. Type 1 we now know is autoimmune. Um, also, fibromyalgia, thyroid diseases. I mean, the list is on and on. Psoriasis, multiple sclerosis. I mean, it's so many different autoimmune conditions out there. And the question is, why is it one person gets one and the other person gets the other? It's lifestyle and genetics. That's what tilts it one direction or the other, or which one you're going to get or more prone to developing. Lifestyle and genetics. But we now know there is a direct relationship between autoimmune conditions and poor gut health. Why? Because when all of that stuff seeps down between those cells, those red inflamed cells, and now you've got those particles that shouldn't be there in your bloodstream. And guess what? Now your immune system goes nuts. It's in overdrive trying to affect and kill off the bacteria so that you don't become super super ill, because you would if your immune system wasn't working in there. And 90% of your immune system is working in your gut. Can you get over that? 90% of it is assigned to your gut because of all that it has to do. But when the immune system is working super hard like that, they eventually form immune complexes. And those immune complexes are now in your general circulation attacking normal, healthy cells. What happens with an autoimmune condition? Those of you with autoimmune conditions have been told by your doctor that your immune system is attacking normal, healthy cells. And for the longest, back when I was in medical school years ago, we didn't know where autoimmune conditions came from. We just knew that it was a condition that caused your immune system to attack normal, healthy tissue. Hence, lupus, it tends to attack the kidneys more. Sarcoidosis, it tends to attack the heart and the lungs more, right? Fibromyalgia, it tends to attack the tissues and the joints more. Psoriasis, the skin, different types of psoriatic arthritis, skin and joints. I mean, it just varies, right? It goes on and on and on and on. There's so many different types of autoimmune conditions, but the problem is your immune system is attacking normal, healthy tissue. Where do you think that's coming from? What's triggering the immune system to do that? Well, now we know the research has shown it's your gut. And it's this phenomenon, this picture that I'm showing you. Okay. So, immune system, even your thyroid. That's why thyroiditis, Hashimoto's, the immune system is attacking the thyroid gland, hence those diseases. Okay. Um, so we know that these are just a few of the signs and symptoms of an unhealthy gut. Um, One area that's so important that we don't talk about enough is mental health. Mental health. Why is that so important? Because your mental health is determined by your gut health. I'm going to say that again. Your mental health is determined by your gut health. And it's so important to realize that the hormone serotonin, which is your body's happy hormone, it's your body's natural antidepressant. 95 to 98% of your body's natural antidepressant to help prevent mental health problems is made in the bacteria, from the bacteria in your gut, and finished off in the cell wall, the healthy cells that you see, the nice little light pink ones. So when you have mental health issues, you most likely have gut health problems too. So, when I left off, I was talking about mental health and your gut health. Again, I want to make it very clear that your body's natural antidepressant, serotonin, which is one of your endorphins, right? Serotonin, dopamine, those are your happy hormones. When you work out and exercise, that's why when you finish exercising and working out, you tend to feel so good. And that's because your endorphins have been released. And that's one of the main ones is serotonin. It is your body's happy hormone. And with that being said, many of the antidepressants that are made, the SSRIs and SNRIs, one of the S's stands for serotonin. Those are major drug classes to treat depression with prescription medicine. Well, they require serotonin to even work. So why don't we just work on our serotonin levels, right? Doesn't that make sense? It's your body's natural antidepressant. So when you don't have enough of it or it fluctuates a lot, you're more prone to staying sad or depression, anxiety, low motivation, low libido, so many, the moodiness, irritability, because your body's natural antidepressant, serotonin, 95 to 98% of it is made in the gut from the bacteria, the good bacteria there, right? The synthesis starts there, and then it finishes the formation of that protein in the intestinal wall, those nice healthy pink cells that you see there, not the red inflamed ones. They can't make enough serotonin. You need to have the nice healthy pink ones. So when you've got those cells that are that red inflamed misshapen side, do you think you're going to make enough serotonin? No. There's a research scientist out of Cambridge University that was on like the Good Morning America show, either that or the other one of those morning shows. And this was about 5 years ago. He did research with depression and antidepressants, and he was able to get a third of all of his participants off of their prescription antidepressants just by addressing their gut health. And the number one reason they had gut health issues were food sensitivities. So that leads me to the next thing. Let's talk about what you need to do to get healthy. One, Find out what your food sensitivities are. So very important, because food sensitivities directly cause those red, angry, inflamed cells, leading to leaky gut, reducing your serotonin levels, making you sadder or moody. Okay, it's connected. Think about it. The other thing that's super, super important are prebiotics and probiotics. What are prebiotics? Prebiotics are the good, healthy foods that you need to eat so that your body can naturally make probiotics. You don't have to buy them from the store unless you're not making enough of them. And if you're not making enough of them naturally, it's because you're not eating the right things. And if you don't know what you're sensitive to, you could be eating something that's causing damage, and you think you're eating foods that are going to help you with prebiotics to make probiotics, and it's causing more damage than good. So you really need to know what you're doing. It's important that someone such as myself work with you. Okay. So prebiotics, foods that make probiotics naturally in your body. But in the meantime, if you're going to purchase probiotics, you want to make sure you get something that has at least 40 billion units, at least 40 billion colonies of bacteria, at least 40 billion colonies of bacteria. Okay. You need that. Dietary fiber, very, very important. You want a high fiber, low fat diet. You want to change your lifestyle, reduce stress, meditation, take time for yourself, work on emotional health, figure out ways to de-stress, because stress causes those red inflamed cells and you want to reduce that. Anything that you can get out of your space that's stressful, that you can control, you need to do that. Some things you can't, so you learn how to help your body handle it better so that it's not as detrimental to your health. It can be done. There's some things you can't change, like your job. You may love it, and if you're doing something that keeps you in an environment that's not healthy for your gut, you got to work with your body in other ways so that you can, keep your job and get a healthier gut, right? Um, some of the other things that help very much are B vitamins. Isn't that something? B vitamins. Specifically, B vitamins like B2 helps the lining of your gut, okay, helps with those cells, vitamin B2. B3 helps break down fats and carbohydrates, and B6 helps process proteins. And B vitamins can be found in foods like dairy and meat and beans and whole grains, but dairy may not be something you want to get into. But B vitamins are very healthy for your gut. B vitamins, very healthy for your gut. So it's important that you do what you can to improve your gut health, because it's so important um, that you get your gut health better. I mean, I've gone on and on and on and on and on in this hour about how and why your gut health is directly or indirectly affecting the rest of your whole body. Okay, so important. I can't stress this enough. Please take care of your gut, because if you don't, you are not going to have a healthy body. You won't get off some of that prescription medicine you've been trying to get off. You won't be able to lose weight like you want to do. You won't have better mental health like you like to have. I mean, just think about it. Your thyroid will suffer as a result of that. Everything is either directly or indirectly linked back to your gut health. Even things like menopause, your menstrual cycle, sleep, everything is dependent on that. I encourage you 100%. Please contact me. I can help you. We can set a plan that will help you figure out how to get your gut healthy, because everyone's journey is a little different. Your gut is not the same as your spouse's gut, your children's gut, your best friend's gut. Everybody is different, and it has to be assessed that way. I can be reached at 248-569-8420, 248-569-8420, or go to my website, get a free discovery call, or jump on for a 1-hour consultation. You will have to put in $47 to hold your consultation slot. And then I do charge $100 at the end of the 1-hour consultation, but it'll be the best money you've ever spent, simply because we are going to talk about you and what you need to do to get better. My website is drchapman.com. That's DRCHATMAN.com. www.drchatman.com, drchapman.com. Hopefully, I'll hear from some of you that are listening. If you're struggling out there, if you've gone to the doctor, they can't figure out what's going on with you. If you're disgusted with traditional medicine, it is time to take that step. Stop procrastinating. Go to my website. You can sign up for my free webinar, a free discovery call, or a 1-hour consultation, whatever you're ready for. Because whatever it is you do, it's going to be the first step to you getting better and healthier for the rest of your life, to help you get off of that medication, feel better, do better, get better, and stay better. So this is Dr. Silmara Chapman. It's been my pleasure. I am so happy to talk with you. Take care.